YouTube, tell me why it's not cool. 90-hour power reserve. Really cool artwork on the back of the case. Multiple color waves to pick from. Under $500. Associated to one of the greatest brands that ever existed historically, BlancPain. Stop it! Hey YouTube, it's your host Kurt Brown. This is the Watch Factor and you're in the news. So it's finally being released that BlancPain and Swatch are going to do a collab, kind of as a additional rollout of what they've done in the past with Omega. A lot of people have already started commenting and the feedback kind of varies. Some people like it. Some people think it's a marketing ploy. Not really interested in what's going on. I actually think it's genius. Listen, the reality is that there were very few people that were interested in Swatch as a whole. Their retailer stores weren't doing very well. And what better way to kind of infuse some interest than to continue to build off of the great success of the Swatch and Omega collab that released last year. There's still a lot of interest for folks that are trying to get some of those watches, and they're releasing out new models that initially people thought wouldn't do well, but they're actually selling out, and there's a markup for them on the gray market. What I also like is just some of the nods to BlancPain's, not necessarily their DNA, but kind of what their old CEO used to call out and say, that there was never a BlancPain watch that was produced that was a quartz, and there never will be. What I also like is just kind of a little bit of the design aesthetic and kind of the thought process that was really put into making these watches. If you go kind of deep into the details, you'll see so many different nods that do truly try to highlight some of the interesting pieces that make up BlancPain, as well as some of the great DNA and fabric that's associated to Swatch. The fact that they decided to go with an automatic movement, the System 51, which if we go back to when that was originally released back in, I think, 2013, that was groundbreaking. That was so disruptive to the industry because where did you get a 90-hour power reserve watch that came in under, what, $150, $180, I think may have been closer to the retail. So I think it's actually genius. It continues to get production of that movement into other watches. And again, we're trying to expand the reach of newer collectors, watch enthusiasts. They're trying to tap into a more youthful market. What better way than to give us something that's under $500 that can go, almost 4 days with your watch so you don't have to wind it. A cool set of color waves that kind of give you something. And now you've got a conversation piece, a rotating bezel. You've got some decent water resistance. I think overall, it's just a great approach to try to keep that brand moving. And if we think of the Swatch Group being a conglomerate, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to move down the line and look for other opportunities with, let's say, Longines and some of the other brands where it just might make a good marketing move or business move to continue going with it. So the first one that really kind of caught my eye is what's called the Arctic Ocean from the lineup. Now this is kind of the orange and tan version with a pretty cool NATO strap. Again, not a fan, but it does kind of flow well with it. The words "no radiation" are below the logo, which is kind of a nod to the original 50 Fathoms heritage version that kind of was released back in the 1960s. And then on the case back where you can see the System 51's movement, you have kind of a picture of the Arctic Ocean with some kind of spooky creature that's on the back, some type of like dragon type of creature. As many people know, or if you don't know, the System 51 is a movement that cannot be serviced. So one way that they're able to kind of keep the price point for that movement is that once it's kind of built and kind of cased together or sandwiched together, that's it. If in 2013, there was not a whole lot of noise around the watch needing repair or people not satisfied with the overall integrity of the movement. The next one is called the Pacific Ocean. This is kind of a gold tone with black tone, and then the dial kind of has this kind of, it's not a gradient, but it kind of has a outer rim that's darker and kind of fades to a lighter kind of a gray or kind of taupey color. This one is really cool. This one has a black, kind of that gold tone kind of strap with some white piping. Really cool looking watch. Pretty cool. Just a way to create a storyline, right? Give some folks something to talk about. We always talk about what's, especially unique to our watches. So I think the fact that at $400, you're willing to put that type of design elements into a watch that is bioceramic or what they would call plastic, I think is great and helps justify kind of the price point. The next one is the Atlantic Ocean. This is kind of a matte blue, and again, that dial is kind of fading from a dark, richer color on the outer rims down to a lighter version. Now, this one actually has indices 12, 3, 6, and 9 for the hours, whereas some of the other ones don't actually have numbering. Not all of them have numbering. So again, really cool. And then you've got the Atlantic Ocean with again some type of sea monster, if you will. Indian Ocean is probably the loudest one in a sense, in my opinion. That's the green. It's got some orange accents. That same kind of darker outer rim within the dial that kind of lights up and heads into that green. Overall, kind of like I said, kind of the loudest, the funkiest of all of the entire collection. And then on the back, you've got the Indian Ocean. Probably the most tamed one that I could see probably crossing a number of groups. I think ladies and men could probably get into this one pretty easily is the Antarctic Ocean. This is a kind of a pale type of gray, if you will. Again, your indices aren't numbers, right? You've got kind of the dot plots and things like that, but it's a very, very cool color wave altogether. Case back again has that same type of setup with the picture of the Arctic Ocean. The NATO strap is I think it's kind of like I think the center kind of stitching is, it looks blue, but it could be gray. I'm kind of looking at the pictures to kind of see, but overall, a very, very cool looking watch altogether with it. I don't really have a favorite color wave. I do like the green. I think that's kind of funky and loud. Obviously, I'm not really a fan of the NATO straps. I've never really been, but I do like the fact that, again, true to what BlancPain has already been about helping preserve the ocean, the fact that they are made with kind of like recycled fishing nets. Again, I give great points to that. To a degree, you've got a little bit of philanthropy in there. You're kind of conscious of what's going on in the world as it relates to our Earth and things like that. So overall, I think it's really a great and cool watch. And I wouldn't be surprised if this falls out. If I had to give any type of criticism, the whole concept of like it's a non-limited, we're kind of playing with these new words depending on which brand is rolling something out. Will they have enough for the demand? Will this end up creating a markup on the gray market? Like, I do think that for a new buyer, a new person that's interested in watches, those are some of the things that can put a sour taste in our mouth for those of us that's been collecting for years, right? We know that sometimes it just comes like that, but I think they need to be very careful with that. How many times do I, as a person that just kind of learned about a brand new watch, I go into the retailer expecting that they're going to be available and they're not, right? It could put me in a space where, hey, look, I'm not trying to wait for it. I'm not paying above retail for it. I'm just going to move on to the next watch and find myself looking at a Seiko or a Citizens or something that's kind of in that more affordable range. But outside of that, I think the variety of colors makes sense. I think the fact that it's got an automatic movement, I think the fact that they're continuing to just kind of build again upon that success that they had with the Omega and the Swatch collab makes a whole lot of sense. I'd be curious what you think about it. I know I'll be kind of checking a little bit on the net and kind of calling around to kind of see what the interest looks like tomorrow when they actually release. But I think it's a thumbs up. There are a lot of people coming off of the Omega and Swatch collab that are now interested and looking to learn more. BlancPain has a wealth of history and knowledge, well over 100 years of existence. So if this just gets you to go one step further to seek to understand more, again, we're trying to expand our breadth of folks who are interested in watches and potentially becoming a collector. I think it's a great idea. So if you disagree with me, if you think it's just, an awful looking watch, let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of people keep throwing the punch of bioceramics is plastic. Sure. Okay, it is. But again, if we start nitpicking away at everything, I could find a flaw in any watch brand for the most part with something. I think by using bioceramics, that's a great way to produce watches that can stay sub $500. It gives them the advantage to begin playing with different color schemes, which is something that they're definitely doing with this BlancPain edition. So I don't really have an issue with it. I like the fact that they're also playing with a new type of crystal. It's not sapphire. It's not hardlex, but it's some type of crystal that I don't know if it's a proprietary crystal, but I believe it's some type of new crystal that does have some level of scratch resistance. So again, I think it's a great way to begin venturing out, trying new things, being creative, trying to tap into a new demographic. And I think it could be a huge success. So drop a comment, let me know what you think. But otherwise, I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. You take care.